What's up, everyone? It's me, the person who really doesn't want to do this video. Honestly, could have made this video weeks. I've had plenty of time. I actually even completed this video, but I'm gonna redo it because fuck it. Um, but I am gonna give a few disclaimers and let's continue this video. Number one, this video is gonna be a little bit lengthy, so be prepared. Number two, this video is going to be basically discussing the difference between the Naruto game, the Naruto community, my thoughts, and just non-biased thoughts, right? So a little mixture of everything. Um, then number three, I would definitely love to hear opinions, but just stay to the end of the video, um, and see what you guys, I'm kind of curious. You know what I mean? So yeah. So let's talk about the game itself. Let's talk about the history of the game. So just basically a non-biased, just a little bit review. So Naruto Storm series basically came into fully tuition, I think, in Storm 2. Um, there was the Storm 1 online or something like that. I really don't know much about that. And then Broken Bonds. I know those two are the main pioneer for the old generation. You know, if you played back on Xbox days of Massacre 585, Jeffy and all of them, they played Broken Bonds. Um, I think Kiriyami also played Broken Bonds. Speaking of Kiriyami, then Storm 2, I think, is what I think everyone remembers people by, at least, or at least what we the community would kind of start. So Storm 2 was basically a completely different game than what we have in Storm 4. Storm 2 came out in about '08, '09, maybe. I'm not sure much of Storm 2. I didn't play Storm 2, but what I do know is it was an extremely sorcery meta heavy. The best way to beat sorcery was sorcery, and basically they just jumped to the side. I don't know. It was really weird. It was an interesting game though. I do have it on the cart, so maybe in the future I'll probably finally buy it and play it for you guys. Maybe do a little public content on that one. Same with Storm 3 and maybe Storm 1. I don't think Storm 1 even had Conqueror. I'm not sure. But so yeah, we start from there. Uh, and then we go to Generations, which Generations is about 2010 or so. Generations is an interesting game if anyone knows anything about it. Basically, that was Conqueror's game. That was definitely PTS Kank, Kid Kank, whatever you want to call him, game. The only thing you ever heard in that 2 year span or any videos is charge, 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 Puppet May Rain, Secret Black Move, Iron Maiden, or your guard will break or something like that. So the only way you could beat a PTS Kank is with another PTS Kank. Like, that is the golden rule of Generations. However, without PTS Kank, it would definitely be Mask Man. Mask Man was definitely the meta. Um, Not the other puppets. Shio was a really good support in that game and completely different than what she is now. Which we will talk about that later. Um, but she was in a really good support. Like, her jutsu was really good, and her fucking shuriken was amazing. Um, in Puppet Mirror, she was amazing, and even as a rare support, she was amazing. But the thing is, she as a main character was really glitchy and really broken, but she was definitely not better than PTS Conqueror or Sorcery, right? She didn't have as defensive options, and she couldn't really get in, right? She was just really a basic puppet master that was supposed to be like a normal character, but kind of failed. And then, in that game at least. And then Older Conqueror is a weird one. Older Conqueror is, I think, a very hidden gem in Generations when it comes to puppet mirrors. I think Conqueror is legit probably the only one that, if you really know how to use, is probably top to beat PTS Konkoro. Like, I'm not gonna say better than Sorcery, but I mean, Older Konkoro has some shit that is so good against puppets. Not against normal characters really, but like his arsenal with like the multiple poison bombs, along with the Shio support. His hitbox is really good, and his awakening's not really bad. Like his awakening's pretty damn good in Generations. Um, and then his shuriken glitch also had multiple shurikens came out. Like he had the most shurikens that came out of all the puppets. The thing is, it wasn't completely direct and forward like sorceries. Like imagine the sorcery shuriken now, like how a lot of people get annoyed by it. Well, it was like 100 times better Generations. So plus sorcery had the unsubbable grab plus unsubbable jutsu, and that's the reason why like you see a lot of old sorcery players or like you see some new style ones why we jump, like when we do a grab we jump to the side and do jutsu. It's well, it is because of style and you do have to time it really quickly in this game, but back in the old days that would initiate an unsubbable jutsu where they couldn't sub it. So and if they did sub it somehow they would take the damage no matter what. So yeah, there was little things like that. Sorcery definitely had over Older Konkoro. That also he also had a really good tilt in that game, and his combo game was pretty good too. So um, I'm stretching it a little bit, but I really do think Older Konkoro is underrated in Generations, especially when it comes to puppet mirrors. Um, but yeah, so we get basically in a puppet heavy meta still in Generations. I mean, you had Masked Man, you had Switchikage, you had Minato still, um, Sasuke, Naruto. You still had some characters, and then you had some broken supports, but you still had pretty much a PTS Konkoro heavy meta, other than Masked Man. And then you have Storm 3. Storm 3 is really interesting. So Storm 3 came out late 2012, 2013 or so. Um, Storm 3 is where they really tried to make puppets into normal characters, right? They kind of nerfed quite a bit what puppets could do. They still had the Shuriken glitch, and puppets' awakenings were broken in that game. Like, Sorceries was definitely top 5 in that game. Shio, I would argue, maybe even top 5 also, if not, definitely top 7. Shio's awakening was broken. Same with Older Conqueror. Older Conqueror's awakening was fucking all the puppets in Storm 3 awakenings were stupidly broken. Absolutely broken. Um, and then you have, I would easily argue that is Shio's best game, and Shio is the best puppet master in that game. That is when we get the I love what Saksuri named it, so we're gonna give it credit where credit is due. The chakra flow, and what you see here is like where I do that. You've been seeing it through like what he just did, where Shio's puppets can follow you, where she stays in place through a ninja dash. Only Shio could do that, but that was introduced in Storm 3. Um, and the guy who introduced it to me didn't know much about it. He was just like, "Oh, that's cool," and I was like, "No, that's revolutionary." Because you know what you could do? You can catch Minotaurs and Conons with that bullshit, and also be really, really broken in puppet mirrors. So Shio really had up an edge, and a lot of people didn't know much about Shio until me and Hanako Blossoms. But it was basically me. But I didn't even main Shio much. I didn't really main puppets a lot in Storm 3. A lot of people knew me as a Utakata user. So, but I was still known as a puppet user too. But yeah, Shio is she's the best puppet in that game. Her combo game is amazing with that up combo. Her jutsu is fucking phenomenal. Her shuriken glitch is still really good. Her awakening, like I said, is top 7. That's kind of like where the basis of her awakening comes from is Storm 3. Like, yeah, she kind of had that in Generations, but Storm 3 is where the glitches and the brokenness really came into tuition. Um, and then, you know, you still have the other meta where Storm 3 with Hanzo and Conan on the runaway side, and then arguably the best character would be Hanzo. Um, I'm not going to talk about the renewal of Storm 3 and what people would say in the meta then, because I'm going to go based off what I know when Storm 3 was active and the meta was there. But I would definitely agree that Nagato is definitely one of the best characters. And then you have a lot of the characters are just really good in that game. Like Shino's really good, Itachi's pretty fucking stupid, broken. Sasuke is still really good. Naruto's mash is pretty good, and his first hit dash is really good. Um, Sorcery is pretty good. Um, Long range characters can do really stylish things in that game. It was just Storm 3 was just a crazy, but it was crazy, but it was crazy on both sides in a weird way. I don't know. It was just a really weird but beautifully done game. Um, I hate to say it, but I love Storm 3. I hated it at first, but once I actually like got used to the mechanics compared to Generations because it's so different, I loved it. Also with the double jump, that was a big deal introduced. That's when the double jump was introduced because Generations didn't have that. Next, you have Rev. Rev came out about 2015 of August, and Rev, in my opinion, is the most balanced Storm game. If it wasn't for that counter, the counter I think really just kills the game, and I don't think they should have added the counter system. If they really needed to do it, like if it was that big deal to them that they're like, yeah, so we need to balance because Storm 3 was so mash heavy, they should have made it like Storm 4. Like they shouldn't have done it like that. They didn't really care enough to really try, and that's when we kind of see the downfall after Rev. But I do believe Rev is the most balanced Storm game. That's when puppets were definitely comparable to normal characters. Like even people back in Storm 3 and Gens that I knew who did not use puppets picked up Sorcery or picked up Shio or picked up Conqueror. They were just that easy. They were easy to use, hard to master type of characters, but the whole point is they were pretty easy to use. The fact that even people who main, Minato and fucking these normal characters forever, Eno and stuff like that. I'm thinking of King Haraku. I'm sorry, but uh, and they main other characters too. But my whole point is, these are people who were not puppet masters before, but now they're using puppets because Rev made it possible. So not only that, but you have other metas. Like Mifune was pretty fucking stupid in that game. God, I hated Mifune, and I hated Minato run. That's where the Minato's always been infamous for running since Storm 2 days, but I feel like Rev is where the Minato runaway really killed puppets. Like, yeah, there was Storm 3 that did it, but once I found that Shio tech, like, so if I did like a first to 10 out of like the best Minato runaway, which back then was Minato, or it was Mata Rikudo, I believe, was the best Minato, or at least one of the best, which we did do a first to 10. Um, it was 10-7 in his favor, granted, but still, like the whole point is that was one of the best Minato runaways, and I was a 10-7. So, um, I beat most Minato runaways. So yeah, I'm not gonna clarify that, but most puppet masters didn't know about that Shio tech. So we're gonna count that off. But I feel like Rev is where puppets really struggled against Minato runaway. The most. I only know only like two puppet masters that could really beat the Minato runaway in a most like confident, or at least a 6 out of 10 scenario type of deal. And yeah, but Rev is where puppets really became normalized, and the counter system is also where they kind of really fucked up the shuriken glitch. Like the shuriken glitch is still in this game, like still in Storm 4, but the counter overwrites it. So yeah, it's kind of worthless now. Um, Now, the main reason why I want to talk about all this, and I've talked about this in kind of like my puppet history, blah, 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 but I'm going on a more schedule level, is now I want to talk about the Storm 4, where I talked about where it goes puppet, puppet, and then it goes normal character meta, where puppets are kind of nerfed, where now puppets are not like with the meta, but even normal characters can use, or normal people can use them. But now we got Storm 4. And Storm 4 really brought a new light to the Storm games, from what I can tell. Um, Storm 4 came out in February of 2016, and so, like, literally not even almost 2 years later of Rev, like, barely a year after they made Rev for the old gens. Um, they made Storm 4 for the new gen consoles. So that should just prove a lot right there. They obviously did not take their time making this game. So we're going to go on a segue, and we're going to talk more about Storm 4 in a second. So yeah, Storm 4, it's just a jumble mess. The meta's basically been the same since 2017. I'm not going to talk much about 2016 since I really didn't play, but if you look back in older clips, like I mean, the fact that you could do a full fucking combo, um, and like you could switch tech and do a full combo, and the character would still do a full combo, like not a like half combo where they do now, which I still think is broken as fuck as it is now. But back then, the fact that you could do a whole combo, characters' damage outputs were even more stupid, and there were some characters that were even more broken that were nerfed, like S3 Madara. But oh well, um, people are still using him, and he's still good, at least decent wise. But let's talk about puppets real quick. Since they're universal since the 6 years, this game killed puppets. Puppets rely on gimmicks back then and relied on like poison and relied on like small chip damage and everything else and relied on being able to control the field. Well, in this game, it's really hard to control the field. The fact that they have so many safe options. This is the safest Naruto game, and this was the fact that you can do over like three things with switch tech at once, not waste a single resource. Where your puppets cannot keep up, your puppet's knocked down, and you're being guard pressured. So you're wasting. Also, you might have subbed too, most likely. So you probably are wasting about two resources. While in this game, the opponent gets over three resources. I mean, three things without wasting a resource. In the older games, it was not like that. Also, the fact that you can switch tech to eliminate status, so like poison and all that, doesn't really work out. Um, you can't really debuff them because you get a switch tech and boom, they're safe. You can't really pressure them because they can counter. You can't really pick out your puppets. They can jutsu where you can't really pick out your puppets. They can guard break where you can't really pick out your puppets. They can shuriken where you can't really pick out your puppets. They can hand shuriken where you can't really pick out your puppets. Um, and switch tech doesn't really work in puppets' favors. Like maybe back then with Order Conqueror, I would definitely agree that you needed to learn switch tech with puppets, but now not so much because they're just so trash. It's not even worth learning. Which we will talk about that in the 2020 patch. But basically, after the 2020 patch, where they made the worst version of Storm 4, which it is current right now, puppets are just complete, even worse than they were before, which is fucking a feat that CC2. Wow, congratulations CC2. Like, back in the old days where puppets were beyond broken, now they are beyond trash. So congratulations CC2, you did a full circle. Which is also funny because you have like Storm 2, which was like Sorcery's game, Generations, PTO's Conqueror's game, Storm 3, Shio's game, Rev, which was all the puppets game, and Storm 4, which is Conqueror's game. A little funny. I don't know, just a little funny. But um, there's just so much that just really nerf puppets, and it's basically all switch tech. It's literally switch tech. If there wasn't switch tech in this game, puppets won't be as trash. But because there is switch tech, and because you could do all these stupid broken glitches, the fact that you could do all this stupid crap, like look at Kaguya. Like they obviously really did their research on Kaguya making this game. It just knocks down your puppets easily, so it's not even worth picking up. Uh, so after the 2017 patch, because that's where the year of 2016 and 2017 is where they nerf a lot of things. After 2017 and that patch in February, the meta's kind of been the same since then. I mean, universally, you still see F3 Kakashis, Nagato's, Danzo's, BTS Gara, last Sasuke, last Naruto, Tail Beast Bomb, Naruto. Um, I don't know if I say Nagato, but Nagato, Pain, um, PTS Gara, Six Path, Madara. You still see a lot of the common characters. Now the meta has kind of changed a little bit, and you kind of see other characters now a little bit. Like Katarine has been a little bit up there. Kakazu, Raza, um, the second Mitsukage, um, Tayuya. I know she got she's broken, but she was later on newer. Yuguto finally started gaining more notice and finally got banned. Um, Raikage was there, Dairu, um, Sarada. So like little things like that. Like you do see the meta change a little bit, but you still see the same characters, and people really don't branch out with different characters for some god reason. They're just like, oh, this is sweaty and easy to use because Donzo carries and fucking A. So yeah, they just prefer it easy. Because some of the other characters I mentioned still take a little bit of skill, whereas like some of the characters absolutely do not. Um, so yeah, the meta's been the same. That being said, the game is at its worst state. Storm 4 was already back before the 2020 patch where they added Momoshiki and the other guy, who's both of them are trash, where they made the lag input and just basically everything in this game just bleh. The server's even worse than it was before. And the fact that there's barely any clans, any barely scrimmages. There's barely any tournaments. There is content, but not a lot. Um, this game is just, like I said, it's also 6 years old. Um, and the meta has been the same. There's the patches has made the game worse. Um, Kind of just led to this game's downfall, honestly. A lot of people just don't play it much anymore. So I will talk. I shouldn't have mentioned that. I'll talk about the community in a second. But yeah, so basically, this game is dead. There's no hope for this game. The meta's not really changed. Nothing is really going to change much on it. Um, it's been the same for the past 6 years, 5 years. Whoopsies. So that being said, this game is the oldest Storm installment because basically, if you go back what I said in the last segment with the Storm games, they mainly came out every 2 or 3 years, but this one came out as soon as the new gen console came out, and that's it. It's been out for 6 years now. No new Storm game promise, no anything coming out. So that is where is that? Now let's talk about the community. Since this game is over 5 or 6 years old, but the meta has basically been the same for 5 years, um, a lot of people has quit. I mean, it's nothing new. There's nothing that's going to come out of this game that's a promise. They've seen everything, and yeah, even though there's been new things introduced, it's not like even people are still not using a lot of Kakazu. A lot of people are not using Katarina. A lot of people are not using Sarada, etc., etc. They're still using the same people and the same characters they were using when they were playing. So it's just really boring. And the fact that there's not really anything exciting, and like I said, the game is at the worst state. Like the Naruto Storm game is literally the worst Storm game is at right now, and all the Storm installments. Um, and the fact that even back then, a lot of people didn't like this game because it is the safest Naruto game, and because of the broken glitches and stupid shit, and the fact that a lot of people became it's easier to win in this game than it is than any other Naruto game. Like it's the safest Naruto game. It really is. Um, or it really is in my opinion. I mean, and a lot of other people, like a lot of people, like again, I've been playing this for years, and ever since I've been playing, a lot of people has been complaining about the same things I hear about now, and even what I complain about. The game is too safe. Puppets are complete trash. Um, there's no reward. Everything is just once you learn certain things, you can just abuse it indefinitely and not have to worry about anything. So, um, and with a game that's over 6 years old, um, the community is going to die. Like yeah, it's not like like Melee. Yeah, Melee is different because one, it is a Smash Bros. Game that actually is well established. And yeah, there's glitches, but it still is part of the game that makes it fair on both sides. Where in this game, the glitches are downright broken. Two, those glitches are explodable as well as you can do the same movements. Whereas in this game, there's sometimes you do the glitch without trying to do a glitch. So it just happens. And three, it has a really devoted following, whereas this game does not. Um, I don't see The other problem I would say is the community really lacks older generation players because no one really plays that are older generation, and they're pretty inexperienced with a lot of things. They don't know what to do. Like they still are thinking that they're discovering something new, or they think like their team is special or something like that. And I'm just like, no, I've seen that all before. Or they don't know how to handle something, and I'm just like, that's because you haven't played this enough. You haven't fought people who has fought this and knows how to beat this. And this goes back to Shio. Like Shio Awakening in this game is good, but I don't think as broken as people make it out to be, because it's like you can easily run away from it. And if you know what you're doing, you can easily run away from it. So, yeah, I don't think Shio's Awakening as godly as people think it is, but that's because they're new gen. And that's not only with Shio, I mean, that's with other characters too, but that's just the example that is more relevant for me, right? But it's just because I've played people that has fought against Shio Awakening. I have fought against quite a bit of Shio Awakenings, and with the right time, and if you know how to run away, yeah, it's not that hard. Even with the proper, like I've seen God's Will or Awakening, and yeah, it's pretty good, but you can easily run away from it. So it's just lack of experience, the lack of knowledge of what people know, and it's just they're not gonna get anything new because this game is dead and the old generation doesn't want to play anymore. And that being said, the game is dead, the community is pretty much dying, and there's pretty much no hope unless they make a new Storm game, which I've heard some rumors, but I'm not sure. Um, or this new PC Storm game that's being modded by I don't know who, that I've been hearing about on Yamanaka's part and from the community Discord and some other sources. Um, Unless that could bring back the community. I don't know if it will, but it could definitely be a good shot because I've seen some gameplay and it looks pretty good. But the whole point is, there really probably is no way the community is going to be where it was. The game is pretty much dead. The community is dead, and a lot of people are just losing motivation. Um, like me, I've lost motivation before, and that's the reason why I didn't have a problem quitting and coming back. And I'm so not motivated to do a lot. Like I've been having time. There's times where I just sit in my room and just chill for a few hours and just take a breather. Like I can play my PlayStation. I just don't want to get on. And more importantly, I don't want to get on and play Naruto. This is boring. It's dead. I've seen all of it. I'm done with it. And that's the reason why I don't make a lot of videos, is because I just either I don't have enough content to make the said video, and I just don't care enough to make the video. And so that's kind of where I'm at personally, is I don't really see myself making a lot of videos I want to make or hosting the tournament I want to make. I don't see myself doing that. I'm just not motivated for this game. I have too much on my plate. I am motivated in other places, and I'm busy. So yeah, that's basically kind of a history of the Storm game and somewhat of the broad meta, and then in Storm 4 right now, and then that's my opinion on the game and community, and then where I stand. That's it's just crazy, I've been in the community for almost 10 years now, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just not, I'm only here for memories. That's it. It's just for memories and for nostalgia. Other than that, I don't care enough. Like, that's the only reason why I'm still playing only puppets. It's just nostalgia. I don't really care for this game, and I don't care to be the best. I didn't either. I didn't back then either, so. But yeah, this is the Jester Gambler. I'm heading out. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and what's your guys' opinion, because this is what I think. And what other people I've talked to is kind of, a broad statement, but